In a vehicle like this, demands are high. It has to be luxurious, yet tough. It has to be competent on and off the road, and it needs to feel fresh without succumbing to gimmicks. On all of those fronts, the Lexus GX delivers. And if you want fun, detailed car content delivered to your device, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. Thank you. Let's make one thing clear. There are limitations to a body-on-frame SUV with the center of gravity of a giraffe. And when you want this much Lexus in your driveway, you need cheese like Chucky. Though, when you consider what you're getting and how expensive its Toyota counterpart is, it's nearly a premium bargain. And the fact that this has a truck frame underneath and a solid rear axle does give it a couple of unique advantages over most competitors. If you want to know how this stacks up against a Land Cruiser, I've already made that video, so check it out to know more about the differences. To me, for a vehicle to earn the luxury descriptor, it needs to be excessive. Otherwise, there's no incentive to spending more. That's why we have a twin-turbo V6. That's why we have full-time four-wheel drive. That's why we have standard heated and ventilated front seats. That's also why I appreciate having 7 usable seats and a towing capacity of up to 9,000 pounds. Luxury also means over-delivering on the details. So that means we have tri-beam LED projectors, and with most, you're gonna find headlight washers, fog lights, turning lights, and a 360 view camera. And of course, because we're almost in 2025, there's a huge light bar around the rear. This is also built to go off-road, something that will probably be more important to those buying this used 10 years from now. But that means the overhangs are kept in check. We have an acceptable 8.7 inches of ground clearance and underbody protection for when that isn't enough. Something that I would think is especially important if you're dropping this kind of cash on a vehicle is style, and I will say in person, this has quite the presence to it. It finds a nice balance between retro and classy, but let me know what you guys think. My only big gripe with its swagger is the really awkward hitch plug in the back. One more detail that I appreciate is the rear glass that opens at the press of a button. On the inside, the GX does most things well. The seat comfort is strong. I think the cushioning is the right amount of soft, especially on the bolstering. Support is good, yet for 70 grand, I wish I didn't need to pay more to get the seat bottom extension. But I really can't complain much, and you also have soft touch materials in most places, some good looking stitching, along with some metal and wood accenting. I don't know what all is real and fake, but it looks good and does feel well constructed. It's about everything that I would expect from a Lexus. Yet what's more special here is the view out. You have this short dashboard, the low belt line, the tall and skinny mirrors. It's really quite different from your normal upscale SUVs. It feels old school, but the tech does not. You have a solid response time, good resolution, simple user interface, wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. It's modern. My only gripe is that they made most of the HVAC controls digital. They're always displayed, so it doesn't add steps. They're just a little more difficult to use in motion. There's also a slight bit of latency. I'm only bringing this up because I think a big appeal to a Lexus is that they last a long time, and I think buttons would have aged better. There's a long list of standard equipment. I think a lot of people will be happy without adding on a bunch of packages. Though I might spend a little bit more money to get things like a heated steering wheel, a wireless charger that actually works, and the 360 view camera. Oddly enough, they put the button for that where you would normally see your start-stop button, which just takes a little getting used to. Also, the storage levels in here are fine, but it would be nice to see a sunglasses compartment. Instead, Lexus thought to offer you a cool box. At least the stock stereo in here is fairly crisp and punchy for a nameless setup. There is a Mark Levinson option with like 20-something speakers that will undoubtedly perform better at high volumes and improve the surround sound experience, but you have to spend a lot to get it. What surprised me most about the new GX is how accommodating it is to family use. I'm 6'3", and yeah, if I'm sitting behind someone who's my size, I will graze the seat with my knees, but I still have enough space to fit. I do have my own climate controls, available heated rear seats, and the same nice materials that I found up front. I think my only gripe here is that I could use more thigh support. But for families, there is a third row that, to my shock and dismay, is not just a marketing ploy. In order to access it, the second row doesn't slide, it flips forward. This means you can't give people in the back of the back more legroom, yet I still fit. Am I comfortable? No. But no doubt, the GX deserves a round of applause for being able to accommodate tall folks in each row. The bigger limitation is for the people who will be using this row constantly, as that whole flipping ordeal is a bit impractical, especially with child seats. There are also no child seat latch points in the third row. The cargo area is long and boxy, making it bulky item friendly. It's not perfectly flat, the lift-over height is high, and storage behind the third row is akin to the glove compartment, but if you need versatility, I'd say the GX has your back. And it has you covered under the hood too. Every single GX has a 3.4 liter twin turbocharged V6, at least for now. Honestly, I think this is the right fit. It doesn't make this a rocket ship, but it never feels like it's working too hard. So long as you're not really hustling the thing, the 10-speed automatic is smooth and it's very responsive. Even to smaller inputs, it's not under or overreacting. Lag is also pretty minimal. I got this to 60 in 6.3 seconds. From its stop, it takes off really hard. Low to mid-range power when this thing is in boost is immense. Half throttle, low RPM, pulls you up and over hills, no issue. Even with this thing weighing 5,500 pounds. Plus, I'm really happy that Toyota put full-time four-wheel drive in here, because a lot of people want to be able to use four-wheel drive in more conditions than just off-road or deep snow. It's nice to have when it's just a little slick out and you don't have to worry about the system binding up. You can, of course, still lock the center differential, but if you don't get the over trail trim, you don't get a locking rear differential, and you don't even get Toyota's MTS system, which stops spinning wheels to redirect power to the side that has more traction. You do get MTS and a rear locker if you go with the over trail. You also get KDSS, which allows you to unlock your sway bars. It's not exactly a disconnect, but it will increase your wheel articulation nonetheless. The advantage to this kind of platform and rear axle is that you do have a pretty good amount of wheel articulation as standard. I did actually get the chance to test this out, and it was pretty capable, although what I found in deep mud is that I would still get stuck. I think when you're just trying to pull that much weight with such little traction, all of the off-road tech in the world is not going to save you. And the mass of the GX won't help with its efficiency either. On the highway, I've actually been able to average 20, 21 miles per gallon, but in the city, it's more like 15. And really, if you're driving short distances where the engine doesn't get much of a chance to warm up, you will really pay at the pump, especially since this takes premium, which I don't entirely understand why, because this is the same engine that you find in the Tundra. It comes with actually less power than the Toyota. I mean, if you're spending this much money, I guess you would probably expect that you're gonna need to throw in the more expensive octane, but it is an extra kick in the pants. In the near future, likely 2025, we should see the 2.4 liter turbocharged Hybrid Max system from the Land Cruiser make its way here. I found that to make a nice difference in city mileage, though it will lose that effortless acceleration. Once you're up at highway speeds, you're pretty well insulated from road noise, and wind noise, maybe it's a little bit louder, but it's still not that bad. And while you're on the highway, you do have Lexus's latest suite of active driving aids, most of which work pretty well, but the main thing that does annoy me is the optional stuff. So basically this thing can watch your face. So long as it knows you're paying attention, it will control the steering and the throttle and the brakes entirely while you're below speeds of 25. However, they still need to work through this front cross traffic alert system because one, I can't disable it permanently, and two, a lot of times you're about to leave a stop sign and it just detects a car or something that's not actually remotely a threat, and it sets off the alarm, making me think that there's something that I don't see that's about to hit me. Though credit where credit's due, it doesn't do it all of the time. If you drive on a lot of post-apocalyptic roads, the GX also feels up to the task. Yes, it does feel truck-like, It definitely can get jittery, but given the limitations of its underpinnings, it does do a good job of isolating me from the worst that this road has to offer, even taking on potholes without a harsh reaction. On higher grades, you can also get Lexus's adaptive variable suspension, which should further improve upon things. Around corners, you got some body roll. There's some brake dive, but it's overall pretty well controlled. More so than I was thinking when I initially saw the specs. And I also think the steering is quicker than I was expecting. This wheel is kind of small, and I also like how it's weighted. Maybe a touch on the light side, but it kind of builds up in weight as you increase your speed. It's maybe a little bit heavier in sport mode. Once you get past the size of it, it's actually pretty easy to drive around town or tight back roads. It's not that clumsy. Now, the most touchy subject we have today is reliability. So if you're even remotely familiar with the Toyota world online, you'll know about the recall with the 3.4 liter twin turbocharged V6. This is affecting the Toyota Tundra and Lexus LX from model years 2022 to 2023. The problem derives from manufacturing debris being left in the engine. That's going to cause them to wear excessively and eventually engine go boom. The good news is that this isn't exactly a problem with the design itself, or at least from what it seems. So Toyota's doing the right thing in recalling these engines instead of just getting sued and replacing the ones that happen to fail. They really care about their reputation because they know that's a big reason why people spend their money on these. I've said it before, but no brand is completely immune to teething problems. Time is really going to need to tell. This platform and powertrain are essentially all new. And I also do want to state that if Toyota does build a turbocharged engine right, like what we've seen done commercially for years now, then this should have the ability to earn its own reputation for longevity. If I had this much money to spend on an SUV, I want it to deliver on a wide variety of fronts. And the Lexus does that. For how much truck you're getting, this is actually a good deal. I can't say that I've driven enough new luxury SUVs to say this is best in class. But the more I think about it, this is in a class of its own. There are plenty of more car-like luxury SUVs. But if you want a more macho posh box, the pickings are slim. And while the GX still needs to prove itself, the trustworthy reputation of Lexus further bolsters its argument. Like an upmarket offering should, the GX is excessive. It has effortless power for an SUV, comfortable seats, a quiet ride, and a bunch of features. It is also a sizable body-on-frame SUV. You can tow whatever. You have 3 usable rows, so you can bring whomever, and you have a proper full-time 4-wheel drive system with available off-road trickery so you can go wherever. Does anyone need to spend $70,000 on an SUV? No. But does anyone need to enjoy nice restaurants, go on fun vacations, or spend a year's worth of rent money on a travel series they could have filmed at home? If you're going to splurge on a practical vehicle, the Lexus GX is a pretty good way of doing it. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my channel members for helping me improve video quality. Consider joining for additional content. I'll catch you in the next one.